Hello, this is Scott Barrett, and I am going to demonstrate on using the buyer forms wizard in our new myflroffice.net website. And so let's get started. Go to the website, and up on logging in, this is the screen that you will see. And so for the purpose of a contract for a buyer, we go up to forms and then buyer form wizard. Okay, so then this screen, you're going to see a series of 7 questions. These 7 questions, when you answer them, should basically give you the documents for about 98% of the transactions where you'll be making an offer for a buyer. There'll be some exclusions to that where you may need additional contingencies, but I'm going to show you the feature on how to include something that's not asked in these 7 questions. And I'm going to first start with the property type. The options are residential or vacant land. And for the purpose of this demonstration, we're going to use residential. So I'll click residential. The next question, do you already have a signed broker disclosure to buyer form? Hopefully the answer to this is yes. I'm going to click yes. If it's no, then it's going to include that document. It'll be one of the first documents in the package, because it is important that the buyer sign the disclosure forms from the brokerage prior to entering into a sales contract to purchase a home. Do you need, the third question, do you need community HOA association riders? So the answer to this question is different from the previous version. You got 4 possible answers here. And the first answer, I'm going to explain this, no or riders provided by seller. So if there is no HOA or it isn't a condo, then you would select the first answer. Or if it is, but the riders are appropriately being provided through the listing agent directly or by downloading from the listing in the MLS, then that's actually the most appropriate way, since those riders should be filled out by the seller disclosing the information to the buyer, which is the proper way that it should be done. The other options for answers are include HOA rider, include HOA rider in CDD rider. So if there is also a CDD in the community, you would need both. Or the last option would be include condominium riders. So if it's a homeowners association residential property, then it would potentially be the second or third answer. If it's a condominium complex, then it would be the fourth answer. If they're being provided by the seller, or there is no HOA, or it's not a condo, then the answer would be the first one. So I'm going to choose the first one for this demonstration. Then the fourth question in the bottom left, it says method of purchase. So you've got 4 options to this question. The first one is cash with appraisal contingency, then cash without appraisal contingency, conventional financing, FHA, VA financing. So let's talk about cash, the 2 cash options. Cash with appraisal contingency basically will add the appraisal contingency. Therefore, if a cash buyer chose at their sole discretion to have an appraisal, and then that appraisal came in short of the purchase price that was agreed upon, this contingency would provide the mechanism for the buyer to, if they wish, to cancel the purchase and be refunded their deposit. If we do cash without appraisal contingency, then that protection is not included with the contract. So for the purpose of this demonstration, I'm going to choose FHA VA financing. And then the next question, is the buyer requesting the seller to pay buyer's closing costs? So the answer could be yes or no. So let me choose yes for the purpose of demonstrating what this feature does. And so when you say yes, it pops down and it says, so, okay, how much? either a percentage of the purchase price or a flat amount. So for the purpose of demonstrating this, I'm going to put in a percentage, and we're going to put in 3%. So the buyer's offer will include a clause that will be inserted into the purchase contract under additional terms where the seller would be agreeing to contribute or pay 3% up to 3% of the purchase price towards the buyer's closing and prepaid costs. The next question, was the home or condo built before 1978? And so this is similar to the questions about the community association or condo association rider above. And so the first option or first answer we could choose is yes, but the lead-based paint disclosure is being provided by the seller. So if it's being provided through the listing agent directly or downloadable from the MLS as an attachment, that would be the best proper way of getting that. The next option would be yes and include it because it's not being provided, or no, it was built at a different or later than 1978, or I'm sorry, 1978 or later. So I'm going to say no because the home was built after 1978. Is the seller providing a seller's or condominium property disclosure form? I'm going to say yes. And so that will cover about 99% of the offers that you'll need to make. That'll collaborate the documents that you'll need for that purpose. For other needs or other contingencies you may also need for this, we have a new feature here that will allow us to add additional forms that might be pertinent. So I'm going to use an example. Let's say this particular buyer that I'm preparing to create a contract offer for has a home that is under contract, and they are not going to be able to make this purchase unless that closing occurs. So we need to make this purchase contingent on the closing of the buyer's current residence. So let's select down in the bottom left corner. It has a button that says select additional forms. So I'll click there, and then it pops up, and it basically lists all the different riders and addendums that we could use. Over to the right, over to the left, it says commonly used addendums. So these are ones that are more frequently used. And then over to the right, it basically has the entire list of them. So for the purpose of this particular scenario I gave you, we would use V, sale of buyer's home. If you notice here, when I put my mouse pointer on the title of any of these, it gives me a description of what they are. So I'm going to click on V, sale of buyer's property. That is a contingency we need to include. So once I've selected all the additional forms that I need to make this offer, I just click on the Done button. And now I'm ready to click Next. So I click Next, and then it comes to another screen. And let's go through this. Let's look at the upper left area. Included forms. So here is an exact list of every form that's included in the package that it created for us. The RESPA or TILA disclosure, the contract, FHA/VA rider, the energy efficiency brochure, and the sale of the buyer's property was the additional contingency that we added. And so over to the right, download blank form package. So I could literally click the green button that says download contract package, and that will download it to my local computer. That's one way. That way it's completely unfilled, and you'll have to fill in every blank on that forms. Here's a new feature. So down here below it says Populate form package. And so now we have the option to have the forms pre-populated with part of the information anyway, so that saves us some time. And so for the purpose of demonstrating this, I'm going to use an MLS number of an active listing. It's not my listing, but this is the process if it was a listing of another brokerage or another agent. So I'll go here where it says select my listing and says MLS ID entered below, and then I will put the MLS ID, which in this case is W7636215. Okay, so now I have the MLS, and it says that it is a valid MLS number. I just checked. And now over here, I can enter the client names. I have two methods to do this. I can either type them in, or if they are an existing lead in my database, I can select them. Now, if there's a two persons, or you have the lead in the database under, their known as name instead of their legal name, you need to type it in. So let's say I don't know the buyer's names, but I'm sorry, the buyer's names are not in my leads. So I'm going to say it's Sam and Sarah Smith. And then the seller's name, I happen to have it in here, and it is Tom Seller. So now I've filled in, I've put in the MLS number of the property that we're putting offer on. I put in the name of the buyers and the name of the seller. And now I can click in the bottom right corner, I can click Populate Document Package. And then it comes to a screen, and basically it says download populated form package. I click, and down in the bottom left corner, it is basically downloaded the forms. I can pull them up, and here they are. If you notice, it has the address of the property already filled in, the name of the customer is filled in there. I can then go through and finish filling this out, but I'm going to have to download it to do so because it came up in the browser, and we need to do this in Foxit. So I'm going to actually hit my download button over here and hit save. Desktop save. Okay, and so this is the process of using the buyer forms wizard, and I showed you in a few new features. One, you can select additional forms to include with the package beyond the standard basic forms. And the second thing I showed you was that you can actually have it populate some of the data. Let's actually look at that before we part. Let's see if I can. Form. And here we go. So let's go down to it a little bit further. Here it is, Tom Seller, Sam. It has the address in it, Pasco County, the legal description. As you can see, it did populate everything there. This concludes the training video for how to use the new buyer forms wizard in the new myflroffice.net website. I thank you very much for watching this video. If you have further questions or needs, you can always contact someone in the office that would help you. Thank you very much.